Okay, today I want to talk about the Apollo Beach area, but not just Apollo Beach, all of these other towns that surround this area. And I want to give you kind of an overview of what it's like to live over there. Here we go. I'm Sam, and thanks for coming by the Living in Tampa channel, where we make these videos for you about what it's like to live in Tampa. We also have a team of realtors here in the Tampa area, and we would love to help you buy and sell real estate. We'd love to be your first call when you're thinking about moving to the area. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen, and we would love to hear from you. So I have this continuous goal of making videos about every single town in the whole Tampa area, but there's a lot of them. So there's these few towns over on the east to the southeast side of Tampa that I've lumped in with other areas. Apollo Beach and this kind of Ruskin, all these little towns down here, you see them on the map. I've mostly lumped them in with Brandon and Riverview. This is like the opposite corner of the Tampa area from where I am. So even in my mind, I kind of lump all of these areas together. And one reason I've lumped Apollo Beach into Brandon and Riverview is because it is kind of the beach for that area. And Apollo Beach is a small town. It's about 14,000 people, and it really does feel like a small town. I've sold a few houses in Apollo Beach and some of the surrounding areas. We'll get into some of those stories. One of those was a condo like on the water with a boat lift in Apollo Beach. This was early 2021 probably, and this place was around 330,000. It was probably worth about 400,000 now, but it was just a little condo in a building that had like 4 units. And it had a really nice boat lift on a canal that got out to the Gulf really easily. What's funny though is I used to lump Apollo Beach in with Brandon and Riverview, and now I'm gonna lump some other towns in with Apollo Beach. So the other towns that we're gonna talk about are Ruskin, Wimauma, and Sun City Center. Parrish is on the south side of this, but Parrish is a little bit more like Bradenton to me, even though there's some great new communities in Parrish, and we'll get to those, like some of the reasons why people might choose to live in this area is really what we're gonna talk about in this video. But first, I wanna just give a couple sentences about each of these towns. So Apollo Beach, quaint kind of beach town. There's a swimming beach and there's a preserve beach. There's a bunch of manatees over here that come really close to this big power plant. And it's like a really kind of interesting area. Apollo Beach has a lot of waterfront. The whole town is built with these canals. There's really easy Gulf access or bay access, especially if you have a big boat. There's a lot of these areas that are not bridge locked. There are, of course, some that are bridge locked. As you go south into Ruskin, Ruskin is the same thing, just a small town. There's a little bit of older housing, some really cool places on the water, and then there's quite a bit of new developments. You see this new neighborhood here. A lot of D.R. Horton new development in this area, and then some other really interesting houses out on the water. The South Shore Yacht Club. Lennar was building these kind of high-end houses out there that have like their own private beach and stuff like that. It's a really cool development. And Ruskin is starting to have some of these kind of developments because it's kind of like Apollo Beach, but it has more space. As you go east from there into Wimauma, Wimauma is a quirky town named after the guy that founded the town's 3 daughters. And I'm pretty sure they were Wilma, Maud, and Mary. All kinds of different houses, quite a few new developments here in Wimauma off of the main road. So in Wimauma, we've sold a few D.R. Horton new construction houses and then a couple like bigger houses on big lots. And you find that kind of mix all throughout here, and some newer, bigger developments coming in where they have multiple builders in the same development. And then Sun City Center has a lot of 55+ communities, but also a lot of other new development. So if Apollo Beach feels like it was developed in the 70s and 80s, Sun City Center feels like it was developed during the 2000s. A lot of it is just kind of sprawling suburbia. It's developed pretty thoughtfully because it's not too big. You can still get around to everything pretty easily, and there's a lot of nice houses. A few of our clients that live over in this area actually commute to St. Petersburg. So they come this southern way down to the Skyway Bridge, go over the bridge, and work in St. Petersburg. This is a really interesting option if you want kind of a newer house and you're willing to commute that path into St. Pete. because in and around St. Pete, there's not a lot of new houses. Here are just 4 reasons why this area might be perfect for you. The number 1 reason is you don't mind a commute of 45 minutes or more. Now, if you can avoid typical commute times, that might be a little bit less, and depending how far you're going into Tampa or how far you're going into St. Pete, that can fluctuate. So if you're just going to like the east side of Tampa to one of the big like transportation companies, or to like the Citibank office or USAA or something like that, it's not going to be quite 45 minutes. But if you're going into downtown, or if you're having to go all the way like to Carrollwood or something, it's going to take a while. Another scenario where you might be able to avoid typical commute times is if you work in the medical field. So we have a lot of clients that are nurses, doctors, and work in all these kind of medical fields. And many times they just aren't subject to typical commute time. So they're just not as worried about that thing. But because there are a lot of families in this area, and especially up in Riverview and Brandon, a lot of these families are commuting into Tampa on a daily basis. Okay, the second reason why this area might be perfect for you is that you want new construction, but the north suburbs are just a little too expensive. So the north suburbs like Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, Odessa, Lutz, those areas, even over into Trinity and Newport Richey, those areas are kind of expensive. They're closer to the beach. They have more like amenities like outlet malls and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And typically those communities are a little more amenity rich. Now there are some down here in Wimauma and Apollo Beach that are more amenity rich, but not as many as there are up north. So if those northern suburbs are appealing to you, but they're just too expensive, then this area is going to provide you a little bit more options. Number 3 reason that this area might be perfect for you is that you need to get into Lakeland occasionally. So we have a few clients that work out of Lakeland, but want to live closer to Tampa because they want to live closer to a bigger town. Maybe they want to live closer to bigger schools, more options, more whatever. Maybe they just want to be a little bit closer to the beach. But this area could present some good options if you need to be close to Lakeland, but you don't actually want to be in Lakeland. Okay, and the last reason is probably the top reason that people are thinking about this area, and it's that you want water access for cheaper. So we've talked about some of the cheaper areas that have water access before in this video up above, and this is an area that we talked about a lot in that video. So one of our clients that bought a bigger house on some land out here, it's actually on a lake. Initially, he was looking at buying a house that had access to the Gulf. We kind of pivoted away from that because the size of the house mattered a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. But if you want water access in your backyard or really close, you've got to spend less than $1 million. That's hard to do in Pinellas County over in this area closer to the nicer beaches. But if you're over in this area, it's a little bit more doable. And that might be the top reason that you want to live in the Apollo Beach, Ruskin, Wimauma, Sun City Center area. So if you're interested in living in this area, please give us a call. We would love to help you find a place over here. Make sure we take care of you. Make sure we get you settled in a new home. We would love to hear from you. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen. Thanks for coming by.